What's up YouTube? I'm Vaughn and this is the Gear channel where we discuss collectibles, hobbies, competitive games from tabletop to video games, and today we are playtesting with our DPE Prank-Kids deck. And which deck should we go against? Well, it is SwordSoul. Now in today's video we are trying a lot of new things. One of them is actually the new layout that we're doing for the channel for our game testing that we are planning to do online. So if you guys actually like the layout, make sure to like and subscribe, and definitely hit that notification because we have a lot more video content coming out and we are planning on doing a lot more live stream right here on the channel. And if that doesn't persuade you enough to subscribe to the channel, well, what about our giveaway? That's right, we're still doing the playset first edition Forbidden Droplet from Rise of the Duelist. So if you guys want to enter in that giveaway, I'll make sure to put a link in the description that will explain how to enter in that giveaway. It's pretty much simple. You just have to subscribe to the channel. And once we hit 1,000 subscribers, which is actually very soon, then we're going to start doing the giveaways. And all the giveaways are all free shipping and tracked as well. So with that being said, let's get started on the actual duel. So it looks like we are going second, I believe. Yep. So our opening hand is Lampsies, Triple Tactics, Effect Veiler, Nibiru, and Ash Blossom. So kind of a strong hand. So our opponent is going to go with the Ashuna. They're going to summon their Monk, use Asuna. We're going to Ash it, since we want our opponent to use up as much resources as possible for all their worm monsters. So later on, we could potentially do a nice Effect Veiler and Nib on the floor. So we're going Ash. They do Paw of Desires, which is definitely a good card. So they're going to go Banish 10 and draw 2. So next up, they're going to go summon the VaughnGear. Definitely do not know how to pronounce these guys. So supposed to summon the token. Now this is definitely the first misplay, and there might be a few other misplays, but some I'm going to definitely explain. This one, there's nothing to explain. I just didn't take the 1200. That's it. So they did make Fleur. They're going to set 2 back row, which is going to be Circle and Imperm, and they have Droplet in hand. They set the Droplet and they pass. So what we're going to do is definitely main phase 2. We're going to attempt to activate the Nib. And they're going to chain the Fleur, which we're going to chain the Effect Veiler. So very nice. So that dies. And we're going to supposed to summon the token right here, which only has 2400 defense. So that's perfect. And they're going to pass. So we drew into Dasher. We do have a triple tactic, which is pretty useless since they have no hand traps at all. But we do have the Lampsies. So we're going to go and normal summon the Lampsies and make a Meow Meow, and we're going to try to attempt to use the Lampsies effect to spell summon a Fancies. So spell summon the Fancies. Now link those two again, just so we could make Do, and Do is going to be Chainlink 1 and Fancies Chainlink 2. Okay, they're going to Imperm the Do, but we still get to spell summon the Fancies. So we're sending the Pranks, and the reason why we're sending the Pranks instead of the Pandemonium is because we are planning of making Phoenix Enforcer, so we need Alverte, and if we get the Pandemonium, there's no way since we're going to be only restricted to Prank-Kids, because right now the most harmful thing that we know is 2 set back rows that we want to remove with Enforcer. So that's what we're going to plan on doing. So link again for another dough. And spell summon the Roxy since we want to get rid of this triple tactic. So we're going to go and do exactly that. But also what can be really good is if we top deck the Fusion Destiny, we can actually play it right away since we didn't use Pandemonium. So we're going to go use Do, get the Pranks, get the Fancy, activate the Pranks, sending the Fancies to get the token. And we're going to link them for a Bow Wow. Now use Roxy, gets rid of the triple tactics to draw into another triple tactic. Pro plays. Spell summon the Fancies, and now we're going to make Verte. So making Verte, we're going to use the effect. Now they're going to chain the Forbidden Droplet, which doesn't really make sense. So they're going to send the Circle since they can't send the token. and they're just going to scoop. So game 2. Now there is a few things that was probably a misplay for siding, and this game definitely have a lot of misplays on my end. So one of the misplays, okay, so our opening hand is Terraforming, Forbidden Droplet, Effect Veiler, Artifact Lancia, and Prank-Kids Pranks. Now, Lancia was the misplay, but not really the misplay part. So siding it was not just because he did play Power of Desires, and with the tennies, yeah, you know what? Artifact Lancia would not be that bad. But realistically, there's been a lot of debate of is Artifact Lancia is actually good against SwordSoul. Now, it's yes and no. Now, the reason why it's no is because, yeah, you know what? It does hurt the tennies, but at the same time, it doesn't really stop the SwordSoul part. But this is when it gets really good. Going first and siding in Artifact Lancia is actually amazing because the tennies potential and their abilities as going second play is quite strong. So by using Artifact Lancia as starting first, you definitely shut down a whole engine for your opponent. So if you are starting first, siding Artifact Lancia against SwordSoul is not that bad at all. It definitely helps a lot. In this case, it doesn't really help that much. So that's why I say going first, Artifact Lancia is quite good. Going second, not so much. So our opponent is going to go summon the Fishuda, and this is the first misplay. I should have actually just done Artifact Lancia on their standby phase, but I didn't, so it was kind of too late. That could have been a Power of Desire, and I completely have an Artifact Lancia that was like useless pretty much. So that was definitely the misplay. So they're going normal summon the Ecclesia, get the Mohi, use Mohi, we're going Veiler, they're going to set 2 and pass. Now we just drew into the nuts, which is Lightning Storm. So we're going to activate that right away, get rid of the back row. But sadly, they play Imperial Order. Now, this is the biggest debate about Imperial Order because, one, I know a lot of people want Imperial Order banned, but me, I think Imperial Order should be errata because the issue right here is that we do have Forbidden Droplet, but that does not work against Imperial Order because Imperial Order says spell effects, not spell cards. This is why I say it should be errata to spell cards because if it said spell cards, that means we could chain our Forbidden Droplet, send Lightning Storm as cost, so then Lightning Storm would still resolve. But since it says effect, even though the Lightning Storm changed location, the effect is still being applied on the field. So it would still would be negated by Imperial Order. So I find they should just errata Imperial Order with spell cards, not spell effects. I don't think it should be banned. I just think it should maybe be errata again, which is not too much to ask since they errated other cards like so many times. Basic example, Necro Valley. So I'm pretty sure they could actually errata Imperial Order just one more time. So that's going to definitely stop our play. So they're going to draw, and they draw. What did they draw? Oh, Ash Blossom, very nice, and it's Forbidden Droplet, the other set. So this game we are clearly going to lose because, well, Imperial Order, now they're establishing their board and we have nothing to interrupt. So even if we draw into one Prank Kid, it won't do much. So they're going to summon all these guys. Attack now. Okay, this is going for us at 2,100. So, yep. Now they're going to go and summon this Link monster. Now, this is why I actually kept this duel running, is to actually explain, well, one, the Lightning Storm definitely and versus the Imperial Order, but also with the Shaman. Now, you have to be careful with the Shaman because, one, there are definitely going to be a few SwordSoul players cheating and abusing Shaman because, one thing for sure, no one wants to use Shaman first. If they use Shaman first, that means every single extra deck monster that is not tiny cannot activate the effect. So if they go Shaman, Special Summon, and then go and make like Fleur, you can simple Nibiru them and they can't even use Fleur effect to negate or anything. Like, Shaman, make sure your opponent does not use the effect of Shaman like first, or allow them to use the effect first, but make sure that they follow the restriction that it has, that your opponent cannot use any extra deck monster that has a different archetype. So that means the SwordSouls and also the Fleur are completely useless after they use their Shaman's effect. So that's definitely a good thing to look out for. So now, emergency, discard, Shaman, make Omega. Example, they can't use their Omega effect now. They could use all other monsters' effects still, but just anything that was supposed to summon from the extra deck that is not a Tiny, they cannot use. Still a pretty good card, but still have to follow that restriction. So now we draw into Imperm, and this is very important. If you are against Omega and you drew into the Imperm, make sure to use Imperm on your draw phase. Now, my opponent is assuming on the standby phase to use Omega, but no, we're not going into the standby phase. We're staying in the draw phase, and we're using our Imperm to negate the Omega. So now they cannot use the effect for the standby phase or for the main phase. So this is why you want to make sure to use Imperm on the draw phase. So we're definitely going to scoop. We just did that play just to show for you guys. And that's pretty much it. So now we're going to go into game 3. So game 3, we are going first. Our opening hands will be Pandemonium, Dropsies, Jordan Lockbird, Harpy's Feather Duster, and Lampsies. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, why are you having Harpy's Feather Duster if you are going first? That seems more like a going second card, which you are correct, but we are playing crossouts in the deck. And since for this side, we did put in a lot of floodgates and more back row cards, we don't want our opponent to be playing cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, or even Evenly. Now, against SwordSoul, when they go second, they do side heavily usually with those type of cards. So they'll play like play sets of Lightning Storm, Evenly, they'll put in a Harpy's Feather Duster. So they play a lot of like board wipes for going second. So when you are siding against them, and if you have crossouts, you definitely want to put at least one of each just in case. So if you establish your board, you're not really too scared of those type of cards. So like here, we have Harpy's Feather Duster. We drew it sadly, but it's okay. Roxy is going to get rid of it. So then with Lampsies, we're going to pass summon Lampsies, make Meow Meow, use Lampsies effect. They're going to go into Gamma, which is completely fine, because now we're going to activate the Pandemonium, which locks us into Prank-Kids, but we can still make a Battle Battler at least. So we're going to go Dropsies, make the Rocket. Dropsies effect is going to go and summon the Fancies, and then we're going to use Rocket's effect to special summon the Lampsies and the Dropsies. Now we're going to link the Fancies and the Lampsies to make a Do. Use Do's effect to add the Pranks. Since we already used the Pandemonium, we only going to add the Pranks because there's no point of adding a place. So we're sending the place instead, and we're adding the Pranks. Now we're going to link both of them to make Bow Wow. Now we're going to use Roxy's effect, banish the Harpies to draw. And we drew into Tactics. So the first game, we couldn't use our Tactics. Now we could actually use the Tactics since they did go and use Gamma, which is a monster effect. So right here, we're going to special summon the Fancies with the Roxy's effect. And we're going to play Tactics. Now, right now, we have a Drone Lockbird. We have a Pranks. We already have the setup for a Battle Butler. There's no point of drawing 2 cards. Because don't forget, we still have the whole Destiny engine in the deck, and there is actually a lot of cards in the deck right now that would be quite useless to actually draw. So what we're going to do is look at our opponent's hand, because one, we could also establish if we're going to still make the Battle Butler, or maybe we're going to make Rip Roaring instead. Who knows? But we're definitely going to look at our opponent's hand. So looking at the hand, we have Heavenly Dragon Circle, we have Blackout, we have the Psycho, and Ashuna. Now, we're definitely going to pick the Ashuna because, one, yes, it could just special summon and we could pop it with Battle Butler. But if we look at the other one, Psycho and Circle, these are adding, so our Drone Lockbird actually takes care of at least these two. And especially with Circle, they're most likely going to add, because any worm that they're going to have on the field, we're just going to actually pop with Battle Butler, and they won't be able to use Circle, because if they did respawn Circle, then it's just going to be destroyed with Battle Butler. So judging from their hand, we're going to get rid of the Ashuna, so our draw will take care of the rest. Now use Dude's effect, we're going to go and add the Place and the Pandemonium. Now the reason why we're getting Place is so we could do deck thinning, and we could play the pranks after in hopes of drawing maybe something more useful than just another prank kid. So use Place, we're going to get the Dropsies. Now we're going to set, activate pranks, end phase, use pranks. We're going to return the Ride, the Do, and I believe the Dropsy, since we have one in hand. And we draw into Forbidden Droplet. So now, since we have Driver already in the graveyard, we're going to actually activate Bow Wow in the draw phase. So we don't have to worry about Gamma. And we're going to add a Lampsies and a Roxy's. Now, usually, depending on a lot of decks, I would actually add the second Fancy that's in the graveyard instead of the Roxy. Now, the reason why is in case if our opponent has Kaiju and they decide to Kaiju or Fancies, but usually like SwordSoul, they don't usually have like the Kaijus, and also like it's not really a good play to actually Kaiju the Prank-Kids. Usually you want to attempt like towards the Battle Butler, but against a lot of players, they would actually still try to attempt to Kaiju it, so that's why I would add the second Fancies. But in this case, I was very confident that they didn't have a Kaiju, so I added the Roxy instead. So now our opponent is going to special summon the Ecclesia, use the effect, special summon the Mohi, special summon the tokens. On the summon of the token, we are going to play our Pandemonium. So fusion summon. Now this is where things, so we already know what's in the hand. So we know it's Circle, Blackout, and Cycle because of the tactics. Now this is where it was, the declare was a misplay, but the intention was there. But what you want to do in this situation, if you know what your opponent has in hand, or if your opponent doesn't have a hand and you're not really like scared of like Ash or anything like that, put Place as Chainlink 1. And the reason why you want Place as Chainlink 1 is that when you special summon all your prank kids, you're going to choose like Lampsies and Roxy, so they all become 2000 attack now. Your Battle Butler will be 35. So on your follow-up turn, all what you have to do is just put them all in attack mode and just attack for game. And usually like that actually is the proper like play to do when you actually know your opponent's like field or hand. That is actually the proper play. But me, by accident, I said it as the last chain link because I was just so used to like Ashes and all that and always do it as the last chain link. So I just did it, but that was actually a misplay. So make sure if you know the whole situation of the game state, make sure to do Place as chain link 1. It will help you a lot for your follow-up turn, so you don't have to overextend just to kill your opponent. So we're going to go and do Battle Butler as the Chainlink 5. They're going to do Circle. Now they're going to have no choice but to add, because wherever they summon is just going to get destroyed with the Battle Butler and the Mohi. So they're going to add. So that gets destroyed. We're going to special summon the Roxys, the Fancies, and the Lampsies. Now usually, if I did do Place as Chainlink 1, I would special summon another Lampsy, so then they all become 2000 attack. So on resolution, since Chain did have my opponent add a card, we could actually still do the draw and lock bird. So on resolution of that Chainlink, we activate draw, and our opponent scoops. And that is our playtesting with our DPE Prank-Kids deck against SwordSoul. Fuck. That's such a hard name for me to say, and I don't even know why. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. And if you want a sneak peek of future products we're planning to review here on the channel, you can follow me on my Instagram, VaughnGear. I'm Vaughn, and this was the Gear Channel.